This location is stunning, and I imagine Sir Lewis Hamilton feels very much at home here at Kensington Palace. My liege. Suits you.
Honestly, I didn't even know this was here.
Really?
Well, I've driven on this road so many times. I don't know why I didn't know this was here.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's one of the things I love about the UK is how green it is.
Yeah.
Especially in the summer, you know.
Absolutely.
And my home actually is not too far away from here, so I've got my garden's not exactly like this, but I have some. It's a mini version.
Okay. Oh, so what does bring you here today? Why are we in Kensington Gardens?
You tell me. No, we're here today with the team. We've got this CEO event,
Okay.
and I'm here to talk about my role here in the sport, or what I think my role is here in the sport, and the stuff that I'm doing with Mercedes and Ignite, and what I've done with Hamilton Commission, and what I'm doing with Mission 44.
Okay. Let's put a pin in Ignite. I want to get into that in a little bit because
Okay.
it sounds very exciting. But first, very quickly, who's your favourite royal? Mine's Kate. She seems very classy.
My favorite royal?
Yeah.
Well, Diane's always been my favorite royal.
Just over your shoulder there, the statue,
Diana.
the Princess of Wales.
Yes.
My wife, who's American, thought the Princess of Wales was the sea mammal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's the whales, like
Yeah.
you know.
She was always my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say today I have it. I think Kate's pretty awesome.
She's classy.
I like Meghan. So
Meghan's cool. Meghan's cool.
Yeah.
Queen's a bit of a badass too, mind you.
The Queen is,
Yeah.
yes.
And you've obviously met her.
Yes.
Sir Lewis. All right, let's talk F1. We haven't conversed for a while, so lots to discuss. Let's tear off the plaster. I want to touch on briefly 2021. Have you managed to offload the nightmare that was Abu Dhabi in the last 6 months?
I don't know if I mean, that will always be with me. I think when anyone's experiences trauma, not only because it can be it's a traumatic experience when you
Yeah.
lose something that you worked hard for, or whatever it may be. So I think that will always be a part of me, but that I would like to think that I've gained strength from it, I would say, and just reminding myself of the strength that I have within me. So it's not something I'm looking back on and thinking about ever, to be honest.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I'm just really looking forward. What I'm grateful for is still the love that I have for my job, for the sport, and the support that I have within the sport, but also seeing the change that's slowly starting to happen, and seeing people being open to, the allies that I have, I would say, within the sport, and the changes that we're en route to trying to change.
You are a racer at heart, of course. I understand blocking out trauma when difficult things happen, but focusing on 2022, it's continued to be difficult. You're having a tough season, and I was thinking, is it weird not winning? It's weird for me. This is my 7th season in Formula One, and I've only ever really known you winning, and you not winning feels like finding out there's no Father Christmas. It's strange.
For me, it doesn't feel that way because it's not, my life has not always been like in the 7 years that you've seen. It's not always been like that. So, of course, I've had a lot of success throughout my career. But
a smidge.
Yeah, but no, you just change your kind of, you prioritize differently. You change your expectations, and you readjust, and you dig. And that's what we're doing as a team. We're huddling together and we're working, and it's just different. There are people in my team who have only known success, winning championships, since they, because they were young. But there are people who have been with the team for 20 plus years, who have been through the Honda days and struggled, and kind of revisiting partly. Obviously, it's not as bad as it perhaps was many years ago, but. This is actually a really interesting period of time where we're pulling together, we're strengthening other areas that perhaps when you are winning like we were, perhaps don't get time to focus on improving. concepts like teamwork, for example. Like,
Of course, but
Yeah.
all that firepower back at the Mercedes factory, wall-to-wall brainiacs. I've met these people; they're incredibly bright. So, I hope you don't mind me saying, I'm very surprised we're coming up to race 10 and they still haven't mastered the
Yeah.
new regs.
Yeah.
Are you scratching your head thinking, oh, I thought we would have done it by now?
Well, no, because I'm there in the factory. I speak to the guys. I have a more empathy and understand. It's a big job, and ultimately, it's important for us to realize that we haven't done the best job. No one thinks they have, and we just have to stay on course. We have to just keep trying to collecting data, to keep trying things. We're not giving up. We continue to try new things on the car. It doesn't always work, but we'll find out at some stage whether it's just our concept that's just wrong and we have to change for the future, for next year, or maybe the concept is right and it's just there are these small things that we will find out soon. Yeah,
It's tough.
But of course it's frustrating for everybody. We've taken performance off our car. There is underlying performance there, but you can't hold it onto the car because the car bounces, and you have to basically detune it and so we've taken tons of time off the car that we couldn't utilize because of the bouncing.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah,
it's just.
It's when you're trying to set the car up, it's a really narrow window of like what will work with these tires and with this car and with the bouncing. So I tell you, it's that part is difficult.
Let's stick with the bouncing for a moment. Porpoising, a topic I'm sure which is near and dear to your butt. When you got out of that car in Baku, it looked like you'd aged by about 50 years. You were like an
Yeah.
old man.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And it's worrying that could be causing a real detriment. It could be a detriment to your future health.
Yeah.
As a guy who suffers from a bad back, you don't want that. Trust
of
me.
course.
I'm sure you've had issues with your back, but long issues with your back is
of
a
course.
nightmare. So
Yeah,
it's a very
absolutely.
serious thing.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
So
That was definitely a really worrying experience. I mean, obviously, since the beginning of the year, we've experienced the car bouncing, and there's been times where it's been so heavy that you have to lift down the straight. This was a challenge in a different. In the race, you can't lift. You're thinking of all the points that the team need, the difference that positions and championship makes for all those that you work with, and so it's just like gritting and just taking the pain.
it's a hammer
Also-
hitting you at the base of the spine.
Yeah,
That's what I
but
imagine
also-
it's like.
We're also like, it's the first time in my racing career that when you're looking at a setup, you're good catch.
Thank you.
You're thinking, no, we'll just live with it. That's where the performance is. We just live with it,
No.
and that's an unusual scenario to be in, right? And you've been faced with, well, they'll tell you, well, that's where the performance is. How much can you live with? And it's like, it's very, very surreal. But I mean, that race was tough, and it's taken like literally these 3 weeks to get myself to feeling great again. And fortunately, it's nothing serious. It's nothing disc related. It's just all muscle.
Good.
And now I'm back to. But it's been a lot of yoga. A lot of needles been stuck in my back.
But have you said to the team, look, that can't happen again?
For sure. I
Okay,
called the
good.
meeting soon afterwards. I was like, look, now my health is
Yeah.
a concern.
It's not
It's
worth
even
it.
more serious, and it wasn't taken lightly. Unfortunately, in Montreal, we're in a bit of a better place,
Yeah.
and I'm really hoping moving forward we will be too.
Yeah, we're going to Montreal in a moment, but in general, tough season, tough car, tough teammate. I mean, George Russell has stunned everybody. He's performed extremely well
Yep.
against himself. He's even beaten you in qualifying at the moment, 5-4, which is like, what?
Yeah.
He's ahead by 37 points in the championship.
Long
Are
way.
you as surprised? Yeah, 34 points, I think, isn't it?
Yep.
Are you as surprised as us?
I wouldn't say that it's. I'm not someone that really is surprised. I knew that he was going to be strong. I knew he was going to do a good job, and in general, I don't feel like we've done as great a job as his side of the garage has done, and so I know. But at the end of the day, I'm also in this. I'm a much older driver. Like I want people to be the best they can be, because then when you do eventually like succeed and beat them, you've done it on the best terms. You know what I mean? So I think he's done great, and he's got so many great points for the team. On my side, I'm like I'm sad that I haven't been able to collect as many points for the team, but I've still got points.
Yeah.
And working on being better, you know. But it's just not been a very easy scenario. There's been a lot of test and experimental things that I've tried to take on and experiment for the team, so we could try and move forwards, and that's really set us back a little bit.
Yeah.
Put us on a bit of the back foot, and then obviously we had like safety car things, but overall it's all a part of the journey.
Always something.
It's all a part of the journey.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't care. It's just that I know that I'll get there. It's not like I'm more motivated than ever. I'm working as hard as I can. I know everyone else in the team is working as hard as they can. And you know, I think Montreal, for example, finally getting a decent qualifying session, finally getting a good race result.
Second podium of the season.
Yeah, it was emotional, and it meant a lot, and I love that, you know, especially after all these years, to still have that appreciation, that feeling. The third place felt like a huge success for us, and for so many people within the team.
Fantastic. So it seems there's very much light at the end of the tunnel now. We're moving in the right direction. Or not.
I don't know if there's light at the end of the tunnel, but
okay.
There's always light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah. You hope.
There's always light. It just depends what kind of light you're hoping for. Are we going to be fighting for winning the championship? It's impossible to say. There still is a lot of points available.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's you know, in the last race, for example, I was flat out, and those guys were pulling away 3 or 4 tenths. But that's not an impossible number to gain with some development. So I'm just praying every time I get back in the car that it's either, you know, firstly not bouncing, but also we're closer.
Yeah. What's yourself and Toto Wolff, you've always seemed to have a very strong relationship during the good times. What are you like together during adversity?
I would say that's probably when we're closest, really. Ultimately, we are teammates and we're friends. You know, we've definitely gone through ups and downs like every relationship does, but supportive, massively supportive. Toto's been through, and also like with things that, you know, when we did this last contract, I was like, look, just signing the contract doesn't really excite me. What are we going to do together outside where we can actually have some impact? Why don't we start working on something, you know, working on our sustainability, making sure that we're not using plastics, for example, single-use plastics, working on becoming carbon neutral. How can we become more inclusive and more diverse within and be kind of create a ripple effect through the industry? And so that's why we started Ignite, and had huge commitment from them. And so yeah, he's been really amazing. But also as a leader, you know, he's feeling the brunt of the pain too, like we all are. And he wants to succeed, and he wants to apply himself more. That's time away from family. That's time away from his son. And that's the same for everyone, right? And so it's hard to strike a good balance. But I'm grateful for the teammate that I have in him. I wouldn't want anyone else. I wouldn't want it to be anybody else. And in this industry, he is the best boss there is, 100%.
He seems to absolutely understand you. And of course, there is so much more to you than Formula One. And I wanted to touch on something. I'm not going to mention the Brazilian's name because ignorance at that level is beyond stupid. But in general, what is it about these old boys? People like Bernie Ecclestone, Mario Andretti, Jackie Stewart. Why aren't they particularly enamored with Lewis Hamilton? What's the deal?
You tell me.
I have some theories.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I don't know what the answer is to that. I mean, I've always thought of myself as being highly respectful to those individuals, but they're from a time, you know, they're from a different time almost, right? That You didn't see a lot of it. There was no inclusivity in the time that they've generally come from. And what I feel is today, why are we giving them the platform? We've got to stop bringing in younger people who are more conscious of the environment that we live in, more conscious of the direction we need to go in, and creating more opportunities for them. That's what we need to be doing, creating more a platform for the younger people to come through and have a voice and be a part of the changes that we're working towards creating. And that's really why I've started this Ignite, for example, with the team. That's why I've got Mission 44, to support and champion the young youth. My goal with Mission 44 is to champion young youth from underserved communities, but yeah, bringing more young people in, creating I'm already seeing the difference, even like whether it's with your crew or in media, within our team, you're starting to see it being more diverse, right? And that's super important.
Fantastic. The Ignite partnership is particularly exciting. This is the thing which I respect you so much for. It's not lip service with you. You literally put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
You get stuck in.
Thank you. I
Amen.
appreciate that. Well, I mean, that's the thing that we really need to. I've grown up like everyone. You've seen people say things and use words, but not necessarily follow through. You could call it on sustainability, for example. Sustainability's been on people's list of things within companies, but it's been at the kind of we also recycle, but it's slowly making its way higher and higher up in the chain of importance for companies, which is important. But this one we're talking about in terms of creating more inclusive environments where people can be themselves and feel that they can be themselves in environments and they're not picked out because of their gender or their color. I think that's so important, and that's what I'm trying to tackle. And I'm really about action. There's been a period of time where it's been about voicing it, and there will continue to be times where you have to get attention to continue the conversation going. Because in most scenarios, these things, people jump on the bandwagon when it's a trendy topic, and then it kind of fades away, and then it stops happening. And I feel like my role is to keep the people that I'm working with on their toes, continue asking the questions. Hey, analyzing, because our sport is all based on data, right? Like we're a data-driven industry. They know everything about the car's performance, a team's performance, pit stops, so everything, right? But human performance and for example, like how diverse their team is, for example, some of those things are lacking and missing. And so I'm trying to get all the teams to be a part of a charter. It's not my team's charter, it's a charter for all of us to come together and work towards creating a more inclusive environment so that people, young kids that are from different backgrounds, look at our sport and go, oh, there's a place for me there.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do one day. And it shouldn't just be I want to be a racing driver. It should be, I want to be Steve. I want to be,
You don't want to be me. It's hard work.
People do. Yeah. People do.
It's a weird thing. It's kind of like an oxymoron when somebody says something stupid and ignorant. It's almost, I'm glad you said that. You've just highlighted how much more work there is left to do. Let's talk about Silverstone for a bit. The home of Formula One, the home of Lewis Hamilton. There's even a part of the track named after you, which is awesome.
Crazy.
For us muggles, tell us, what's it like being British, winning the British Grand Prix? Don't leave anything out.
Well, even just you mentioning that I have like the straight named after me.
Yeah.
It just like memories of when I was younger. I remember I raced there, and I think it must have been 1993, my first go-kart race there. Hit the straw bales, sucked. And then racing there in single seats is my first time standing in the back of the McLaren garage and seeing Kimi and I think it was Kimi and Montoya. I think it was, or maybe it was David and Maker, I can't remember exactly, but sitting back there and think, oh, one day I want to be doing that, and to think that I am today. And then to just be a part of the British heritage and all the great legendary champions along the way, it's very, very surreal. It's a very, very surreal experience. And then being in front of that crowd, the home crowd,
So
it is
cool.
the greatest experience that I would say that an athlete or a driver will ever experience. And it's very humbling.
You've done it
You know.
8 times, by the way, which
Yeah, I just read
bonkers.
that. I noticed that just the other day. I don't remember all these stats and figures, but I couldn't have done it without the wave of people that are standing supporting me. I remember my first win in Silverstone, and coming through, on that rainy day, coming through, I think it was Abbey chicane that we had at the time, and every time I made it through, I remember seeing the crowd stand in the rain, and just cheer, because people were going off constantly in that corner. And we've been on an incredibly long journey together, and what's also this year has been an interesting experience where my whole life has been about winning, but just going through that learning phase that it isn't always about winning, and even like in the last race, that was a win for us. And there's still so much love and support out there, even though we're not beating the world championship, even though we're not winning all these races, because we're showing up weekend in, weekend out, and we're doing our best on and off track.
Last couple of cheeky ones. You, George, Lando, Alex, the fans are spoiled for choice. The future of F1's popularity in Blighty. It's looking rosy.
Yep.
I was wondering, when you do eventually retire, whenever that may be, will you continue to watch the sport, or is there a bit of the chocolate factory syndrome?
What's the chocolate factory syndrome?
Well, imagine you're working in a chocolate factory all day. You get home and someone goes, "Do you want a chocolate bar?" You're like, "No, I've been around chocolate all day. I don't want that."
Oh, really?
Chocolate factory
Well, I mean,
syndrome.
I have that in the system. So when the last thing I want to do when I get home is talk about racing,
Yeah.
or
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
I've been doing it a long time. But then there's the other side of it. I'm still a racing fan, so I still remember sitting on the sofa watching Grand Prix. At the time was like with a bacon sarnie. Obviously today would be with a vegan sarnie, but I think I'll always be a fan of this sport, and I think I will always watch it, because I love cars, I love technology. I hope that I'm always a part of it in some way, and I don't know how that's going to be. Maybe it'll just always be with Mission 44, and hopefully Ignite will continue going on beyond, right? But maybe it'll be part of a team. Maybe it'll be finding the next young kid that comes from nothing, and giving them an opportunity, or maybe it'll be just talking to young students. Yeah, I really have no idea. I think I always will, because there's a lot of experience and a lot of things that I can pass down, and but I will be doing other things, focusing on other things more.
Of course.
But I think I think I'll always be tuning in. I just hope that if I have kids, they don't want to be racing drivers.
Really? No.
No, I don't. Well, when you look at our sport, when you look at all the ex-drivers, then their kids come through. It's different for the kids following, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't foresee that pressure to be there, and I don't, because people say, "Oh, you only got there because your name is Senna, or your name is so and so."
Yeah, but, oh goodness! I mean, to think of another Hamilton in the car, that's
friggin'
a prospect.
No, I want him. I want him to go and get lessons for Serena and be the next tennis player or something, or do whatever they want to do.
Whatever happens, I'm sure it's going to be a glorious future and very exciting. But in the here and now, finally, can you win this weekend? Could it happen?
That we will find out. I'm praying every day for it. I couldn't pray any harder, to be honest. And I definitely have hope for some, for it to improve. And I know everyone's been working so hard over these months and this past week, this past couple of weeks, just trying to make sure that we try and bring some sort of improvements into Silverstone, just knowing how important it is. So there's a big push back at the factory for that. And, conditions, there's things going on in the background with floors and all these sorts of things, and it'd be interesting to see how it all affects everybody, and I damn hope so. I hope I get in the car and I'm dying for the day we get in the car and we don't have bouncing. That's gonna be because I drove the last year's car last week.
Oh,
And
shouldn't have done that.
It was a dream.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. Why did you do that?
Well, it was an opportunity. I had to, right? But I got out the car smiling ear to ear. It was, oh God, it was so good. Then I was like, oh, this car does not feel anything like this.
Oh, goodness.
But we're working towards making it feel like that. So.
Well, here's something I don't think I've ever said to you at the end of an interview in regards to racing. The very best of luck, Lewis Hamilton.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, champ.
Cheers.
That was great. Thanks, man.
No, thank you.
Appreciate that.
It's been a while since we've had to sit down.
It really has. I can't remember the last time. I think it's like a year ago or something.